I like putting my viewers on edge by making them think there's about to be something really scary. And no, unless you count my ugly and hideous appearance as genuinely terrifying, which I wouldn't blame you. And speaking of terrifying, today we're going to be reviewing Are You Terrified Yet? The 9th book in Goosebumps Series 2000s. And this one has kind of been on a renaissance as of late. I didn't ever look at this one as a popular one, and it isn't really a popular one to be fair. It's kind of one of those under-popular ones, but as of now, this is kind of becoming more popular, at least in a portion of the community, because a friend of mine really recommended it, and a lot of other people started saying, yeah, it's great, it's a great book, and a lot of people are starting to come out and say, amazing. And we'll just see how I lie on this book. So yeah, this one has kind of got a cult following, in other words. A lot of people really like this book. If you don't, it's usually never negative things, so this is actually a relatively really liked one overall. And at least like a 7 out of 10, like average score. So yeah, this one actually is a decent rating policy, I guess. I don't know. It's just decently rated overall. So I was excited for this one. But is it that good? Let's find out. Now for the blurb. And there are no fucking blurbs. I hate my life in a good way. Because now I can tell you guys from memory. And bear with me, I read this book 10 months ago. Kill me. Anyways, from memory, Craig, the main character of this book, since that was one of his nicknames, he is moving to a new town, and he wants to make a good presentation. You know, he wants to look fearless, because at his old town, he was viewed as a scaredy kid. He gets the fucking all-time best outlook, but almost too good, because after Craig goes through an extremely heroic experience, like, read the book, it is insane, he's now looked at like a hero, but there are these two kids, I believe, who want to test Craig, want to see if he's truly as brave as he is saying he is, and they push him to the absolute limits, and they keep asking him the question, are you terrified yet? Give you an idea what the book's about. And at one point, they go a little too far. Just give it that Goosebumps type ending there for my fake blurb. Yeah, are you terrified yet? No, I was not scared by this book, because I was like, I was 14. I'm not scared by Goosebumps books, but this would scare some kids. Especially since it is one of the most grounded in reality stories in all of Goosebumps, and that's something this book is now popular before. And that is something this book is popular for nowadays, is that it's just so realistic in some way. It is likely to happen in real life. There are other books like it where there's things that happen in the book that could happen in real life. But, like, this is overall the most likely just because it doesn't go out of its way, like Fright Camp, or doesn't do something simple but still out of its way a little, like Scream School. No, this one's pretty grounded in reality, although not very likely to happen, but yeah. And, is it that good? Yeah. Yeah, it is seriously an underrated banger, or rather, underlooked at or overlooked banger, I'd say, because not a lot of people talk about it outside of, like, a chunk community or the cult following. And, yeah, this one is an overlooked banger. This one has some great stuff to be offered, which we're about to get into now, at least in my opinion. So what makes this book so great in my eyes, and a lot of people's eyes? Now, the main thing that I love, and I already mentioned this, is the fact that this book is grounded in reality, which gives it a sort of refreshing feel, especially when it comes to the twist, which reveal it's all grounded in reality. Because whilst there's some things that seem like it's about to be like, oh, that's a spooky ghost monster. No, it's never that, but it's played off not like a you can't scare me, or, which this is compared to a lot, because they're both similar stories. It's not played off like, oh, the entire story is fake, but now there's real monsters about. Oh, where do these guys come from? No! This whole story is around reality, but it does it well. It's not like stupid fake outs every now and then. No, the whole story plays it off in a very good way that feels, well, actually kind of realistic, which is tying into the realism of the story once again. And speaking of those scares I mentioned, the scares. Now, I do have an issue with them, but it ain't the biggest in the world. We'll get to that later. But I'm ignoring that for now. The scares in general, including the spider one, because this is a scene in the book, it's amazing. Each scare is grounded in reality, which gives it a more like, this can actually happen sense. And most, of course, the spider jar can happen. Somebody could actually have a jar of tarantulas that they're going to make your hands stuck into, which is a gross-ass scene. There are other scares which just are so gnarly, but, like, not direct, like, oh, I don't know, maybe you scalp your head. No. Nothing gory, gross, but it is still really creepy and disgusting, and like I said, gnarly, like, ugh. And it might involve a funeral parlor, and you can kind of assume what I mean by that. Dead bodies. Yeah, of course, that can be ground reality, but there's also some aspects that are really crazy, like, maybe they get up. Maybe some scary shit happens towards the end. And that is played off in such a great way, which ties into the great endings, because I believe there's like 2 endings to this book. It cuts to an ending, and then cuts to another ending type shit. It's amazing. A fantastic, awesome storyline. And that's another upside. The whole story in general is a really solid story in terms of arc. Craig grows as a character, and he doesn't grow afraid by the end. You know, he actually becomes this version of himself he wants to be. And in reality, he's not exactly, like, perfect. You know, he ain't fearless Craig. He ain't Craig. He's still Craig underneath, but, like, it's still, he has become a new version of himself. It's just a great arc. And I really, really liked what it was trying to do here. And yeah, great scares, great characters, including the bullies for once, since they did help drive the story home for me. Great main character, lots of awesome moments in this book, a great plot, great pacing, and a fantastic ending that grounds this entire story in reality in an amazing way. Yeah, I love this story, but it has some small issues. Amy is pretty annoying. I don't really like her that much, and although she does drive the plot forward, she's just annoying with resisting Craig to do all of these things he obviously doesn't want to do. And I mean, obviously, as in, if I were standing right next to Craig and didn't know anything about the story, didn't know this was a book, I'd be like, Craig, are you sure you want to do this? Because you really seem like you don't want to do this. And I'd just have a private talk with him, maybe pull him out of the room, like, you can be honest with me, man. Obviously, he doesn't want to do his shit, and she's very persistent, and I don't know why she was written that way. She's kind of written like a fucking idiot, is what I'm trying to get at. Like, she's clearly not the most there. She's kind of absent-mindedly, dull-mindedly stupid about Craig obviously not wanting to do this stuff. But I get it, it drives the plot forward, and without her, the plot wouldn't have really happened, because she sort of drives Craig for this, because Craig may or may not like her, I believe. Sorry, Craig. And, yeah, she's kind of helpful for the plot, albeit annoying. Don't really like her in an annoying way, but she does help the plot, so yeah. And another smaller issue, maybe a little bigger, I'm not sure. The book is a little repetitive. Now, this one doesn't bother me as much either. Probably, you know, Amy bothers me more, but it's still a notable thing. This book does a lot of scares, and I feel like I shouldn't focus on them as much, because it's just one thing after another, and it just gets old after a while with this persistence of it. And yeah, those are my only issues with this book. If I had anything else to mention, it might be the opening being really surreal, kind of breaking that atmosphere of realism, but still, I'm not going to judge a book that's literally a Goosebumps book. They're not supposed to be realistic. Anyways, let's now get to my rating. With its amazing plot and amazing characters, minus Amy, and of course, Amy has the issue with the repetitiveness, I still really, really, really like this book, and it's grown on me when I've heard more people's thoughts, and I've kind of went, I agree, you know what? I really like this book, and maybe I'll move it down, maybe I'll move it up in the future, who knows? But for now, I'm settling on a 9 out of 10 for Are You Terrified Yet? Bordering my all-time favorite Goosebumps books. It doesn't quite reach there, but I absolutely see the appeal for this book, and I think, yeah, it deserves the love. It is a very different Goosebumps story with it, you know, being completely grounded in reality and all that shit. You're probably tired of me saying that, but Yeah, and I like that. Nice, it's a solid read with a great story, a great protagonist, and some really awesome scares, albeit a little repetitive. Hope you guys enjoyed this book review. Tell me what you think of Are You Terrified Yet below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. One man, one jar of spiders.